Yeah, you told me I would have to wait. After all these conversations would result in nothing. Wish my friends and I could celebrate, but these plans keep falling through because there's always something. Say that you want me when I'm in the room, then when I ask you, tell me it's too soon. Guess all your words were too good to be true. I'm done waiting, sick of saving all my hope tonight, 'cause your empty promises don't satisfy. No more compromise, 'cause I don't need you to act like we're alright. Say that you want me when I'm in the room, then when I ask you, tell me it's too soon. Guess all your words were too good to be true. I'm done waiting, sick of saving all my hope tonight, 'cause your empty promises don't satisfy. No more compromise, 'cause I don't need you to act like we're alright. Act like we're alright. Too many chances at redemption. Think it's about time I learned my lesson. No more compromise, 'cause your empty promises don't satisfy.
Don't you know that I'll be here for you till we got nothing left to do? Tell a couple jokes and enjoy the view. I'll be here for you. Don't you know that I'll be here for you till we got nothing left to prove? Write it down in ink, I'm a drunk tattoo. Always here with you. Don't you know that I'll be there for you wherever you go? I'm a guarantee like Curry's 3 and Harden's free throw. Whenever you're lost, I'm blue. I'll find some clues to see you soon. And when the show ends, the credits roll with our tune. The piano's out of tune, but I'll play it for you so we can have stuff to do in the afternoon. I'll be here for you, yeah, I'll do it with you. I'll stick till it's through, yeah, you know that it's true. Sometimes we laugh and sometimes we cry. Sometimes we get drunk and buy shit that we find online. I'll be here for you, yeah, I'll do it with you. I'll stick till it's through, yeah, you know that it's true. Don't you know that I'll be here for you till we got nothing left to do? Tell a couple jokes and enjoy the view. I'll be here for you. Don't you know that I'll be here for you till we got nothing left to prove? Write it down in ink, I'm a drunk tattoo, always here with you. Call me fast, I drive down in a flash. 2 hands on the whip, won't crash. Changing lanes so quick, whiplash. Twist and turn so drastic, life feels like a Tarantino. Don't know where it ends, moving dice, a casino. The piano's out of tune, but I'll play it for you, so we can have stuff to do in the afternoon. I'll be here for you, yeah, I'll do it with you. I'll stick till it's through, yeah, you know that it's true. Sometimes we laugh and sometimes we cry, and sometimes we get drunk and buy shit that we find online. I'll be here for you, yeah, I'll do it with you. I'll stick till it's through, yeah, you know that it's true. Don't you know that I'll be here for you till we got nothing left to do? Tell a couple jokes and enjoy the view. I'll be here for you. Don't you know that I'll be here for you till we got nothing left to prove? Write it down in ink, I'm a drunk tattoo, always here with you.
You take attention is left in your wake. Everywhere you see, blinded yet infinitely. The spectrum of a time breaks from its shape of a line. Each instant proves to me a moment reaching endlessly. keep on being high. I know that you're feeling forsaken, mistaken, wish you were another man. I remember feeling awakened, mistaken, if you thought I'm in that place where you want me to be. But I don't want you back, so it's easy to see when I'm high all the time. 'Cause I have lost you, get the thinking why we used to be so high on life. Without you, I don't feel alive. So I just keep on being high, high, higher than the sky. Tell me, are you there for me even when I try? Breathe me in, into the light. Slowly heal
everyone, and welcome back to Revival League Season 2. We're a go with Champions League Round 6. My name is Retro, and I'm joined again, once more, after like a month of being apart. It's some of the nerds.
Hello, everyone.
You're back.
I am back. I took a short break as I had to do work IRL. But I am back, and I'm ready to partay.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy to have you back. I've been solo for the most part. I've had a little bit of help from Tardis a couple of times ago. So having you back around is definitely a very, very good time. And I'm excited for this first game of round 6. It is very unusual to have some games going on already on Monday, but ETERNO and VITICAL were both very, very vigilant and very determined to play this game as soon as possible. So we're bringing it to you as soon as possible as well. It will be an Oregon game, followed by Chalet over on map 2. And these two teams have been pretty decent so far throughout this season, so much so that ETERNO still could end up being top of the leaderboard. Of course, Wolves have overtaken them just barely on the leaderboards, but of course that is because they have played one more game than ETERNO has. So ETERNO today, playing that one extra game, could just be bringing the circle back around, and VITICAL could be looking at putting themselves even higher up on that top 4 as well. But as I've been rambling on, some very interesting bands have come out, and someone talked me through them.
Yeah, these are definitely not our standard bands that we'll see across a play day. But on Oregon, all sorts of things can happen. It's known for being quote-unquote Boregon, as a lot of the attacks can be played very, very similarly. However, bands like this, you can see the Maverick is very, very important here. He's very good at opening up walls, especially when paired with someone like a Buck, an Ash, or a Sledge, who are able to open up a soft wall with a large area, and he can take away that hard wall that's stopping them from doing so. Solace, also a very important band to take a look at here. She's really good at finding those cameras and drones and just picking up things, as well as playing verticals on diffusers especially. And you can even see when people are on cams outside, and you can check for claymores, for runouts, all sorts of things that can be countered using a Solace. And she brings quite a good lineup as well with a P90 and an SMG11, but she also boasts the Spanish shotgun, which is the ITAS. Not renowned in the community for its ability to kill, but it is very good. Ying and Castle, two fairly standard bands, but more you see in ranked. Castle really good at denying windows from being opened, stopping areas from getting into anywhere. And Ying also very good at just blocking off eye lines and being able to cover plants and other areas. But moving into the action phase here, I'll let you take control.
Yeah, it is definitely very interesting bands, and I really look forward to seeing how they really impact the gameplay. But so far, so good. An initial engagement already coming out between Noit, and I do believe that was Rexy there inside of Dining Room. Of course, he's not there alone. He does have JM for support, but that early engagement really could have left either of these teams really scrapping for air there, as they would have lost the C4 and a very hard-hitting weapon with Rexy and the Vector and the Mira, but they also would have lost that soft destruction as well as those frag grenades in the pocket of Noit. But the first kill does in fact come in favor of ETERNO, as Katu goes down to Nico Meister all the way inside of Attic/Big Tower, a very early opening there, and they barricaded just about every single door over on the bedroom side to make this push into the game's closet as difficult as possible. With Rexy and James still down below, this could be a bit of a troubling rest of the round here for ETERNO, who are looking to do some vertical pressure from below. Noit here in an engagement already against some of those players that are still playing below, and another one is joining them as well. I do believe that's Rudda going downstairs as well, or maybe switching positions with JM. Meanwhile, Rexy inside of the meeting is trying to contest that attic pressure through the hatch. Oh, a bit of an engagement there between him and Nico Meister, but Nico Meister comes out the victor. Of course, they retreated back into the kids' bomb site and reinforced that rotate as well to not give ETERNO as much of a pressure and as much of presence as possible, but they've already made their way securely inside of side, and Nico Meister and Saves are both taking care of this entire team. Nico Meister finally finding JM just before he took out one more of his teammates. JM in a 1vx situation really didn't have much hope of doing much, especially with so much pressure being applied to the actual bomb site itself. There really wasn't much that he could do, but nevertheless, the first round goes ETERNO's way, and they keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, really good playmaking ability there from Nico Meister, picking up 3 frags and holding down his team's angles. You could even see him checking the flanks just to make sure there was no one there. Really well played by ETERNO there. That was a really good attacking round. VTC did well in their defense. Not as well as I'm sure they would have liked, as they did end up losing it. I think it was a 3 versus 1 in there. But they did manage to get a couple of picks, and they managed to waste a little bit of time. I think losing that attic so early on was so big for them, and I think that's really what was the downfall there, because that was just the main angle that Nico was able to get kills. Looking at the current Champions League table, ETERNO sits in a comfortable second place after being beaten first by the Arctic Wolves. And VTC sit at an even more comfortable third. Both teams look in very happy positions, and it's just sort of a battle between these two, between going up or down. Both are pretty comfortable in being able to be seed next season in Champions League.
Yeah, that will definitely. I mean, I've said this from the beginning, pretty much, that I don't think that it's possible to see either the playoffs without these two teams, or definitely not the Champions League next season without these teams. They will definitely be seeing more of them, and if the rosters stay the same, I think it's going to be very exciting to see how much damage teams or teams that have been together for a long time could do. And well, the pressure seems to be a lot different this time from Noit, as well as that setup from the side of VITICAL. And this could come to be a very, very interesting round here, just so very early on. Katu taking a little bit of damage from that window, throwing down a magnet to deny these grenades from doing any damage from that window. Noit, curiously, is right up on that window. Normally you'd see people being on that outer wall being repelled rather than right up on the window, but he took the chance. Didn't quite end up working out, but nevertheless, the push is still a go, as they still have quite a few people to go around and quite a bit of time to get themselves in place. Run-out goes out from the side of VITICAL, does a lot of damage into Venom, and that is an NVTZ, but not enough really to kill either of them. At least not for now. Thatcher rotating around through the garage, maybe trying to put a little pressure on the main stairs as we hit that 90-second mark in the round, the official halfway point. Rhoda getting naded out of his position inside of attic, and this could be trouble again for VITICAL as they lose that attic presence. With that games wall opened as well from them, of course, in the early round, that also could be given another extra pressure here for ETERNO, but they do lose their opening frag, or opening pick this time. It will be their star player from the last round. And as I said, it's that closet pressure that really could be a bit of trouble for VITICAL. They do down Rudda, but that was Katu right there on the re-swing to get the refrag. Venom is there to push up, get Rudda, who was the previously downed player. Katu miraculously on just a 1 HP is still hanging on for his life. Safe's trying to get a bit of a pre-fire here onto the player inside of Kid's bedroom. Can't quite find it, but neither can the defender on the opposite end of that gunfight. Katu's still in that same position. He's in the smoke, but they find him regardless, and this could really, really be dangerous as he might get double swung. He doesn't. Venom pushes up through the closet, but there goes the swing from NV to get that frag finally. It's all down to Safes and NV. The diffuser's down for the count at the moment. They retrieve it finally. Safes is on such low HP. Just a tick of that C4 could do enough damage. Oh, instead, it's the Uzi from JM. The plant does go down, and in the final seconds of that plant, JM finds the kill, wins it out. VITICAL put themselves on the board.
Yeah, a really good round there from the defense of VITICAL. They really managed to hold on to that attic, and I think that was a big part for them there. As you could see, they managed to get a lot of denial. Iana actually had to go below, open it up with frags and spraying up towards the electric claw, which really slowed down their push. 90 seconds left. They had to find the operators. They had to drone out the site, and they also had to make their execute within those 90 seconds. I think they were really pressed for time, and I think they really had to work hard in order to get there, which I think they seriously struggled with. Nonetheless,
Sorry.
Close round from ETERNO, absolutely no problem, Retro. Close round from ETERNO. They managed to bring it into a 1 versus 3, roughly. One was downed, and one was very low health. I think they got just a bit unlucky with their crossfire, and in that final gunfight, JM really pulled out with the fragging potential as he managed to pick up the kill onto the Zero, who was trying to plant the caliber.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree with you more. And now VITICAL putting that round on the board for themselves, winning out on their primary bomb site pick of that a top floor dorm site. Now they go down to the basement, which really could be a completely new set of challenges for either of these teams, really, as they still are learning information about each other, still learning how they play and how their rounds are going to go. And a very, very interesting use of utility here is Rudda actually reinforcing and electrifying the attic hatch and leaving the meeting hatch not only soft, but open, of course, to allow for rotations of his roaming teammates. But that is definitely not something that you see very often. I mean, talk me through the ideology behind that, Sylvan.
I think roaming seems to be a little bit of an understatement here, as I think we can actually only count, I think, one person maybe on site. With a heavy top floor and secondary floor, yeah, no, not even anyone on site, but two very shallow roamers. I think this is going to be very important for them if they're able to pull this off. I mean, unfortunately, we see Rotto there straight away, but I think they're really planning on holding these top floors and delaying so much time than using those hatches to drop back and using small rotates, very sort of guerrilla style, hit hard and fast from different areas.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that. And they do find a refrag there onto Noit, taking his grenades with them, but Nico Meister is there to find an answer to that as well. Finding one onto JM. Now getting very aggressive is Katu, immediately finding that refrag. I mean, this type of refrag potential you don't get to see very often. It's only in the topmost teams that you get to see it. We saw it yesterday, Voltage and Lumina. Now we see it again. Rexy still largely uncontested inside of meeting. Will find Venom. It's all down to the Lion and the Thatcher. Yet again, the same two players as the last time around. It's Saves and NVTZ to try and find the round win for their team. Luckily, between them, there's still quite a bit of utility. They had that Gone 6 in the pocket of Saves, who did use it on the hatch to open that one up. Unfortunately, they don't have any more vertical utility, but luckily for them, they don't need it all that much for this bomb site. They still can disable a lot of those potential utility coming out from the side of VITICAL. How useful that will be is tough to predict, especially as they've run out of their E1D scans, so it'll just come down to whether or not they can win their gunfights. And the TZ droning out, trying to find out some information. Of course, they're lacking in the information department as well. They're just trying to find the kills without that Gone 6. They are unable to clear that shield, and as the smoke babes start to roll in onto the potential hatch drop, they're really scrambling for positions and for potential entry points. 30 seconds to go. Safe's very, very careful about how he's going to push this, especially now that he's all by himself. The diffuser is dropped effectively in sight, completely in control of VITICAL, and now 20 seconds to go. The final smoke babe will get deployed. The LMG in hand on the Lion, he swings, but two people are covering that exact angle. He just was maybe able to find one, but unfortunately, even if he had found the Warden, he would have gotten shut down by the Oryx nevertheless, and the round will go back VITICAL's way, putting them now onto that full rotation down to the kitchen and meeting they go, and this could really start to become looking like a wipe from VITICAL Esports.
Yeah, VITICAL making some really good defensive moves here. I mean, it is working for them, even opening up those hatches. And once they've taken Nico Meister off of that board, I mean, I think it's sort of free reign for them at that point. They're picking up frags, spreading them across. I mean, they're playing off each other very, very efficiently. So if they are losing someone, they seem to be getting pretty much consistent refrags. But we saw the prowess of Nico on that door there as he managed to pick two people up very quick into the round, and I mean almost instantly. I don't think the 90 seconds have passed yet. But nonetheless, lots of these operators and players are very good, and I think it's just waiting until the later rounds where we see them warmed up a little bit, understanding their opponents, where we see a lot of the serious contention coming out. we're seeing on the side of VTC, we're seeing people like Katu, JM, and Rexy picking up a lot of the frags here. And looking at the operators they're playing, we can see to understand that Rotter and Rexy have seemed to have switched similar roles. I mean, Mira is not someone you typically see fragging, despite having a very, very good gun and incredibly high-powered stopping power. You'd maybe more likely see the Frost with the 1.5 and the gun with very, very little recoil. It makes it far easier for her to take long-range gunfights and have more gunfights as she has a larger magazine size and a more easy to control recoil pattern.
Yeah, and the first engagement's already coming out here on this basement side or on this blue stair side. Noit and Nico Meister both trying to contest Pavlov on the smoke, but of course, it's not somebody that you want to push close range, and so they think better of it, rotating around to maybe that freezer/white push. Meanwhile, Safe's making a clear path for his team down to this split meeting to potentially open up this wall as well, as Venom is right there for support as well. Frag grenade will come out, and the first bit goes ETERNO's way yet again. Saves finds Rexy. That wall blown open gives a pretty substantial entry point here for ETERNO, but there's still so much pressure for them to contest against. A little bit of that pressure being diminished now as Rudda will go down as well. Pavlov back inside of the kitchen bumps and trying to hold on to that end of the map. Of course, can't really afford to stay roaming anymore. A lot of pressure being put in from this split side. I don't think anybody's really attacking from the backside just yet, which is a bit of comfort for VITICAL, but not much, as they will find a kill on Takatu as well. Behind that Talonite shield is Saves. He gets away with the plant, despite the smoke bait being right on top of him. Protection from the hatch as well. JM taking a little bit of damage. Can't really do much. There goes the swing. He gets one, but now he's all alone. The hatch drop ends up fatal as ETERNO pick up another round. And, well, they close out that lead a little bit. The VITICAL was starting to put up, and they prove that, well, that first round that they ended up winning was not just a fluke. They are definitely here to stay. They equalized the score count at 2 rounds apiece, and, well, they definitely put us into a pretty interesting game here.
Yeah, I mean, as we saw there, the premonition that Nico survives the round is won is displayed again there. I mean, Nico coming in even with the last kill. Really impressive game from Safes there, though. I mean, really used his utility to the max. I mean, I don't think there's one piece of utility he didn't use, other than maybe his second drone, because his first drone didn't get got. But that was a really impressive display from the side of ETERNO. Really compelling round, and I think that was a really dominating performance. VTC just seemed to lose grip there. I think they got a bit aggressive early round on the likes of Rexy, and Safe was able to pick that off with his shield. I mean, he's got complete view onto the enemy team, and he knows when he's going to peek where they don't. That also revoked a lot of utility along with it, so that was a nitro gun with it, I believe, which is very important, especially in places like close plant with an OSA. OSA can be very important at protecting the bomb, as we saw there. Even with a toxic babe, she managed to survive and get a plant off and then just sit behind her shield quite comfortably until the likes of JM on the Jaeger came around, picked up a frag onto her, but not before she managed to pick up 2 or 3 kills. So, really good round there from ETERNO. I think VTC need to take it a little bit slower in their defenses. As I say that, NVT is on the site, and my curse begins to strike.
I don't think that is really your curse. I think that's just ETERNO reading into VITICAL a little bit too perfectly. They knew there'd be a player up there, and they had a grenade as well as a player pushing him. Rudda is there in a very aggressive position for the refrag, but he's instead refragged right away. Noit is there, finds the opening even further, and, well, blows this round wide open for ETERNO now, as they've lost their Kaid C4 with them, and they've also lost the Thorn. Of course, her gadgets were displaced during the prep phase, or at least I should hope so. So maybe not that big of trouble, but nevertheless, a gun lost is a gun lost, and as well as a man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible position for them to be in. at this point in the round. I mean, 90 seconds left on the board, but they have now moved to 3-3, and I'm going to stop.
I mean, you need to stop talking. But yeah, they equalize the man count yet again. Pressure being put from this attic side once more. I mean, we saw this all the way back in round 1 where VITICAL were not able to hold on once they lost that attic pressure. Of course, then they were able to reinforce that wall off and deny more of that pressure from coming in, at least directly, but now they are not able to do the same. And with those zero cams spotting out all of these defenders, they have more than enough information. A C4 from below goes out. Oh, but it doesn't catch anything. They knew about it coming, but Katu takes the opportunity to go for the swing, finds safes. Still more than enough time, but Rexy will find Noit, leaving Nico Meister all to himself. 1 versus 2 for him. Now he knows there's a player. Why? But does he know there's a player close? He does now. He goes for the swing with the pistol. Finds Katu. Rexy down below. Now C4 less as the one that he threw. Didn't catch anybody. Nico Meister throwing down a drone. No utility left for him either, but he gets that plant down nevertheless. Rexy waiting atop the white stairs to wait him out with the plant. A lot of those cans coming up from the drones and the zero cams alike. Rexy on significantly lower HP than Nico Meister. You know, if he was insane, he could maybe get away with reinforcing that wall, although definitely not, as Nico Meister's holding a pretty tight angle, trying to bait him out with that defuse a little bit. Nico Meister swinging around to the other side. Is Rexy aware? Not even remotely. He made his way all the way inside of attic. That timer is now very low, but Nico Meister has it covered anyway, and the round will go ETERNO's way. Now you might start to think, was that round number 2 back when VITICAL won it, their first round, the one that they won on the Darms bomb site, was that the fluke instead of the round number 1 that ETERNO won? You really start to wonder at this point, Summon.
I mean, something's definitely a bit fluky here. That was a really good play there from Nico to, first off, well, just swing him with a pistol. If I was in ranked, I think I'd be screaming and sort of crying and vomiting a little bit. But really good game knowledge shown there by Nico. I mean, his 10 kills are more than well deserved. To be able to rotate around, play ring around the rosies with that mirror, being able to get behind and get into a position the mirror is just not thinking you're going to be in, is not ADS prepared for. It's a really, really impressive display. And I think Nico is a great addition to ETERNO, and I mean, every operator and every player on that team is adding something different, and they're all doing their jobs almost flawlessly. I mean, if you've seen how some of the rounds have gone out, it's been literally skin and bones when they get those frags.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
VTC, they are getting the kills. They're doing their jobs. I mean, I just think gunplay-wise and game sense-wise, I think that some of the players on ETERNO have got that just over them. You can see a more even spread on.
That's ironic.
He wanted the diffuser, really wanted that diffuser, but I mean, we can see a really good spread of kills across the side of VTC, and you can see it goes 2, 4, 6, 1, 4, which is pretty much, it adds up very, very fairly across the whole roster. But if we're looking on the side of ETERNO, I mean, it is literally 10, 2, 1, 3, 3, which is a completely different split. That's a whole other thing.
Well, there we go. Noit will find what is essentially an opening fake, considering that the real first death was a team kill. And something I want to point out here about ETERNO is that they are definitely not a team to just stick with one way of doing things. You spoke about how Oregon is sometimes known as Boregon just because a lot of the attacks go the same way. ETERNO are definitely not the team to provide that type of show. They went for a completely different attack the first time around, and now they're going for a completely blue attack with this one T, with that thermite, those EMP charges as well on the wall. A prone angle from Noit will find him another. Now before they found another as well, and now Rudda and JM, both on the roam, are having to return back to site. Quite a lot of contention for them to face against that Monty in the post plan is going to make this a lot harder, but Rudda and JM both find one. It's now down to Rudda against the Monty to try and find the final frag to get that diffuser disabled before the time runs out. Unfortunately, does not have a C4 remaining. He goes to barricade him out of the bomb site, which is definitely a strategy, but NVT is just a little bit too aware of that, and he goes for that one instead. Safe's going for a castle. Unfortunately, the castle has been banned out, so that was definitely not in play for them. But I didn't even realize that was the final round of that half, and the half very significantly goes the way of ETERNO, who are now at a 4-2 lead over VITICAL, and VITICAL are going to have to start really, gearing up to try and find some more rounds here on their attacking half, which of course can be quite difficult on a severely defender-sided Oregon. But, well, hopefully they're going to be able to find a little bit of that.
Yeah, I mean, a 4-2 split is an excellent split. Oh, sorry. It was an excellent split to be going in with. Absolutely outstanding, like a really, really good rounds of attacks from ETERNO. I mean, that last round there, I mean, to be able to go into it 4 versus 5 and then still come out on top is just absolutely gobsmacking. Really, really impressive. Nice play there from NVTZ as he manages to pick up the kill as a shield. Not sure why Rotter had decided to try and barricade in front of him. Interesting decision. As a castle, that absolutely would have worked.
I don't think he expected him to shoot through the doorway. I'm gonna be honest. I thought he saw that in his head play out as like, oh, I barricade this. He's trying to break the door open, and then I can kill him because it doesn't have his shield up. And then it really didn't work out that way.
I mean, it makes pretty much quite a lot of sense that would be how that played out, but also makes just as much sense that he'd just take out his pistol and shoot where the guy is barricading. As a castle, that would have been very effective and a very good counter. But another good counter is also run. That would be my personal counter. And it's probably why we don't see Clash as much. And I bet VTC are regretting finding that castle.
Yeah, definitely. And now Noit taking down Rexy is another opening pick in favor of ETERNO. VITICAL lose a pretty important operator in their attack. With that buck being gone, of course, he can do a lot of vertical pressure from below, from inside of kitchen and from inside of security. But that is all going to be nullified now. JM and Pavlov, however, still determined to put up a little bit of that vertical pressure as they're pushing up those freezer stairs, or those white stairs rather. It was barricaded, so they'll make their presence known before they can really put any pressure onto the bomb site.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 4 versus 5 on the side of the defense, which is very important for the defense. This map is incredibly defender-sided, so it's good to see that they are being able to hold up to that promise. As I say that, it goes to 4 versus 4 as Rotter picks up the refrag. Not sure if Retro's here.
I'm here, yeah.
Okay, sorry, thought there might have been a
no, I was letting you take it.
Worry. But yes, I mean, very good defense or attack as we're seeing so far. I mean, they are seeming to take quite a good bit of vertical play. They've got a guy on white just waiting for someone to come, but around here we want to start seeing an execute. I don't think Kartu is going to be executing very much. Oh wow.
Wow, that was a mass disconnect there. I mean, at first I thought, oh no, that's going to be annoying on stream. We have a bit of a sound bug going on as we could just hear the sound of a gun going on, but then it was a mass disconnect going on for VITICAL Esports. I mean, calling out for a DDoS, I'm sure that is just jokes. I doubt that anybody would be actually accusing anybody of that, especially, they're the winning of the disband. A lot of jokes going on in the all chat at the moment. I guess we're gonna have to take a short pause here in the game, considering the fact that that was a mass disconnect. It's been a minute since I saw something like that happen, and it's usually when there's like sort of a countrywide internet issue, or maybe Siege itself is having massive internet server issues. But if unexpected, I guess that gives us a little bit of a moment to talk about. They're calling for rehost. Unfortunate there, but that it just confirms that we have quite a bit of time to talk about everything that happened in that round. I mean, a lot of it didn't actually happen, considering that there was just a massive disconnect from the team that, at the moment that it happened, was in a significant lead and could have actually taken that round had they not all, had bugs and disconnected. But nevertheless, I still want to talk about their approach, their attacking half, and their approach to refragging their buck, who, you might even look at as the most important part of their attacking team. I mean, did you agree with that, Simon? That was a pretty good way of them turning it around after losing that initial opening pick.
Yeah, I mean, taking the vertical on a defense, on an attack where they're on top floor is very interesting, and it's not quite something I've seen before. I mean, still the castle and the Solace bands still confusing, and Solace is someone we would see do something like that. But yeah, it was a really interesting attack, and it's a shame we didn't get to see it play out because obviously we had a couple of people on the treadmill. But yeah, really unfortunate. I wonder if it's just an area outage.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate what happened there. But hopefully they're going to be able to come back to it and come back from it even stronger to potentially get some more round wins. Of course, nothing's over till it's over. And I really didn't think that they were doing that badly that entire game. Of course, being at a disadvantage on a defensive side of Oregon when you're going into your attacking half isn't the best position for you to be in. But I mean, we've seen teams bring it back from way worse score lines than that, and I really would not put it past VITICAL to be able to pull it back. I mean, they're not in that third place because, they got there luckily or because they, stumbled their way through that. They're one of the very, very strong teams, especially in the Champions League. So I really do expect them to do quite a bit better than what we saw displayed in that first opening half. Of course, it's going to require them actually putting their foot down. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to get that round back, which, would have been, could have been, should have been. I do believe that it would have been theirs, or at least it would have been really, really close considering they had a man advantage. They were putting up a lot of pressure from key areas. There's a lot of pressure being put from that attic and that trophy side, as well as up those white stairs. We could see the Nomad as well as the Iana both pushing up there. They had that man advantage. I really expected them to be able to put the necessary foot down, as you would say, to get that round win. So they're gonna have to claw it back now from an even bigger deficit of 3 rounds. We're gonna be able to, as we're gonna be restarting the game rather at a 5-2 split for them now. So that is effectively putting ETERNO just on the step away from match point and from a point in this match. Of course, at this point for both of these teams, points really aren't that important. I think the only thing that they might decide is where exactly they get placed and who exactly they end up playing come playoffs. But I do think that both of these teams can at this point, safely be looking onwards toward the playoffs and definitely toward the next season of the Champions League, even if they proceed to lose either of these remaining 2 rounds of round 6 and 7. That miraculously puts them outside of reach of the playoffs, which I don't think that either of them can really. I guess VITICAL might. I think ETERNO are mathematically through regardless. But a lot of that rambling has gone on. We've discussed what VITICAL did right, and really the only thing that they did wrong was losing their buck so very early on, and that nullified a lot of their vertical pressure. But luckily for them, they're going down now to the basement attack, which, despite it once upon a time being probably the most defender-sided site in all of Siege, just like most sites that end up being called that, it ended up being played to the point where it's really not that, binarily split in favor of the defense. It does tend to go either way quite a lot. So I've got a lot of confidence here for VITICAL. If they play their cards right, that they should be able to win. And considering their lineup, I really expect no less than at least a tug of war here going on between these two teams. However, they do have that Echo to contest against, and that really could be a thorn in their side come that plant, should it actually come down to it.
Yeah, I mean, really impressive rounds from ETERNO, and just because a game is map is defender sided doesn't mean like defenders always win, which obviously but it means that it's more likely and it's easier for the defenders to win. But if we see a team who are displaying absolutely outstanding prowess with their gun skill and how they play, we're going to see that team completely dominate the map and just beat out any other team. I mean, in this game, information, gunplay, and game knowledge is what wins games. It's not lucky headshots, and it's not the maps. It is absolutely game knowledge and your gunplay that wins these games.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And that opening pick did go the way of VITICAL this time. Luckily for them, they took out that Echo that I said could be a problem. However, Nico Meister, as we've seen him before, was immediately there for that refrag, and MVT will find JM to bring that man advantage back in favor of ETERNO, or to bring it to them for the first time. Drones coming out, spotting Nico Meister, who retreats back into the bomb site and does so safely. Now, as we reach the halfway point of the round, VITICAL have done a pretty good job of ridding this top floor of any defenders, but of course, there's still a lot of work for them to do. The diffuser is outside where they left it, thinking that they weren't really going to need it for another while to come, or that might have... Oh, no, that was from a kill there. I do believe that's how Nico Meister took down the Rudda. Of course, we couldn't see the kill, so it's tough to tell. Katu here waiting for NVT, but unfortunately, he swings out just a little bit too soon. What a beautiful swing there. What a beautiful... I don't even know what you would call that. Shriko peek there to find that kill. Katu quite peculiarly using all of his X-Kairos at the same time, diminishing his own utility. A impact grenade will go up onto that wall to deny that those X-Kairos from actually going off. He's going to be using the last of those to try and open up that wall yet again. Nico Meister finds himself inside of this blue bunker area. Pressure is going to start coming from that hatch as well as from the barrel side. A lot of damage being done there onto Pavlov. Pavlov, however, finds the swing onto Nico Meister. There goes the hatch drop. Noi missing just a little bit, but he finds one, finds the second one, saves. Rexy all on his own, finds one. It's a 1 versus 1. He doesn't have time to plant. He doesn't even have time to retrieve the diffuser. He's going to have to go for kills. Rexy in a prone position, or saves in a prone position, will find the final kill. That is ETERNO now on match point. The secure point in this matchup, and a round that I really felt would be going VITICAL's way for quite a long time there, even when they had the man disadvantage. Even when they had the significant HP disadvantage, I still thought that they might be able to pull it off. But ETERNO have just stuck themselves a little too deep into this one. And while being on a defensive-sided Oregon really makes that a lot easier for them as well. Another round going ETERNO's way. VITICAL forced to be perfect now for the rest of this game if they want to take this to overtime and potentially win it out there.
This was we were coming into this game expecting a tug of war, and right now we're seeing not what I'm going to call a pounding, but certainly a battering. I mean, ETERNO have come out here and they've absolutely dominated VTC, which is unfortunate. I really like watching VTC play, and I think VTC are very good players. But ETERNO are a top 2 team, and I think they are made to be in that #1 spot, if not second spot, as I'm obviously going to be a little bit biased towards the Arctic Wolves. But ETERNO, really, really good team. Absolutely outstanding every time I watch them play. Excited for the next map. I'm hoping to see a VTC come back. I'm hoping to see maybe a draw, because they are a third-place team and they deserve to be up there. But at the end of the day, there's not something we can always do about how the teams come out and how the teams play. But really, really impressive games from ETERNO. Really impressive defenses. If they win this one, they would have not lost one defensive round, which is just outstanding. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also very, very true. I didn't even think about that, but that would definitely be true. Now, a lot of pressure being applied to this top floor. Of course, they have to secure that top floor before they can even think about attacking the tertiary bump site of Meeting and Kitchen. Very peculiar pick of that Tachanka, and Noit on the flank finds one, nearly finds the second, but decides better of it and rotates back down. ETERNO find that opening kill yet again. VITICAL find themselves on the back foot, even more so as Rudda is on quite low HP here as well, and the round has only just begun. Running outside, trying to rotate away and keep himself alive for a little bit longer. Pavlov does not have the same luck as the Gridlock is taken down by that DMR. Nico Meister is just on fire, pre and post rehost Rudda. Maybe even hunting ghosts down here in the basement. Rexy, in the meantime, does find an opening here for the side of VITICAL as he finds the kill onto Venom. Nico Meister is the next one to go down as Katu is working in tandem with his teammate. Rudda still on that lower floor, will go down. Too low HP, and well, that 416C is just a little too much to handle for the Osa. C4 finds Katu, finds a lot of HP for Rexy as well, and now it's all down to a 1 versus 3 for Rexy. We've seen him in this position before, but it's going to be a lot harder to achieve that now against players that are not giving absolutely anything away, and with him not really having too much to work with. Of course, he is the bucky and do a lot of vertical damage up onto the bomb site from above rather. But a lot of that is going to take up a lot of time, and it does leave him just as vulnerable to potential gunfights. Of course, all they need to do is land just one bullet, and he's out. And it will be Noit, his second one for the round, with that 416 to find not just the final kill of the round, but to find the final kill of the map. The map will go 7-2 to ETERNO. They pick up 3 points from this entire ordeal. And well, VITICAL, despite their best efforts, just were not able to recover from a 4-2 loss on the first half, and then that mass disconnect all the way back in round 7, I think, really put a sour taste in their mouths, and they were not able to recover, potentially even mentally, from that particular situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that was just a round. That was just a complete ETERNO game. There's no arguing there. You can't even try and see that from the side of EC. That was a complete ETERNO victory. Unfortunately for us, I was really looking forward to a good game there, and it's just upsetting that we just didn't quite get it. Did see some good plays there from VTC at all, not to take away from them, not to put them down at all. They did do well. Really, really did quite a good job in some of the defenses, some of the attacks. But I think that was definitely something that was just controlled by the other team. And I don't think that VTC really had a chance to dominate where they were.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But I don't think that we should really, or that we really have to harp too much on them. I mean, you said it yourself, I said it as well. It was just domination game from ETERNO. And I guess before we close out this map and go on break for the next map, we should crown the MVP winner for this map, which I feel like at this point we might be a bit of a broken record when it comes to MVPs in ETERNO, but I feel like just, Nico Meister is just too good at it. That's the only thing that I can say. Yeah, if the shoe fits. I mean, and the thing about, because of course he's the entry fragger, so of course he's always going to have the most kills, and he's always going to be the one that everybody talks about. That's the way that it usually goes in Siege. Everybody talks about the star player, the entry fragger, the this, the that, but I feel like, it's not just about the entry fragger being able to get those kills. There's so much going into that allows him to get the kills. There's the information game from the rest of the team. There's everybody else being positioned in a way that it forces the defenders, into the crosshairs of the entry fraggers, and there's so much utility being displaced there as well. I mean, grenades coming out, C4s coming out, a lot of that also all comes together for a lot of these kills coming out for the entry fraggers. So it's not really just a single man victory. But as you said, if the shoe fits, man, and well, for Nico Meister, it definitely does. So he will be our MVP for Oregon. We'll be taking a short break, and when we return, it will be Chalet, and it could just be Vitical's redemption. I really wouldn't put it past them. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Revival League Season 2 Champions League Round 6. My name is Retro, joining me again here is some of the nerds. Summon, are you ready for a potentially, bit of a comeback here from VITICAL and Chalet?
I am indeed really looking forward to it, really hoping for it. Want to see a good game here. I'm ready for it.
Definitely. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm really hoping that VITICAL are able to really stick their teeth into this one and take a nice big old bite out of ETERNO's current position and their current points, although I don't think that even if they were to take a nice big old bite, I don't think they'd still be able to overtake them for that position, but they still would be able to put themselves quite high up on the standings, or at least secure their position in that third spot, even more so than they already have. Nevertheless, it is Chalet following a 7-2 closeout by ETERNO and following a rather unfortunate mass disconnect for VITICAL Esports that most definitely shook them up a little bit. And, they simply never recovered from first and foremost losing their initial first half, and then of course, that mass disconnect did not help their situation, so hopefully in the break they were able to regenerate themselves a little bit and get their heads back into the game, and that's not going to affect them going forward. But of course, starting now, back on the defensive half starting on the attacking half rather here on Chalet, it could be another disadvantageous half for them, just on the back of starting on the attacking side. But of course, that does come with its own little bit of a, uptick or a little bit of a buff, is the fact that should you lose your initial opening half of attack, you still have that entire defensive half to play out, and that really could be your saving grace. But without further ado, Summon, walk me through those bans and through this initial first sight setup where, spoiler alert, they have a zombie on the board.
Spoiler alert, they do have an Azami on the board, and an Azami is someone I love to see on defense. So powerful for creating rotates, because she has 2 impacts. There's one on the floor there. But she also brings the Deagle, which can be used to open up eye lines, and can also be used to, deal a lot of damage. But as you see those barriers being deployed there, she can be used to block eye lines, but also force her own. So by doing that, they're going to have to drone in, and they're not going to be able to push straight into mezzanine because they've got that upper area cleared off, which are 2 areas you can peek straight over from fireplace stairs, making it a lot easier for the defenders to hold it, and a lot harder for the attackers to attack it. Nico making sure he gets his feet picks in for the day here as he's looking through the drone holes. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting defensive round. Really important to see all these different operators, as well as lots of information operators here, such as the Warden, who is very good for roaming and looking through spots.
Yeah, and as you said, he's getting his feet picks in. He used that drone hole to see exactly where he was positioned, went for the swing, got the opening pick, and, that leaves ETERNO, or that rather leaves VITICAL Esports scrambling for more. But JM is there, picks up that refrag, and a very beautiful kill there as well onto Nico Meister, but Noit is still down below, could be causing a little bit of trouble. Luckily for them, though, they still have the Nomad on the board, so they are able to clear any of that potential out. Now, the thing that I'm really, really worried about here for VITICAL is the fact that, of course, they lost their Ash, which means that their projectile potential is a lot more diminished, which, of course, with the floors being banned, is going to make it that much harder to clear the shields that are in place, as well as the Kiba barriers. Very unfortunately for them, Noit was able to shoot that that air jab, and those drones thankfully did spot him out, so they know that he's coming in for the flank. Another air jab would get deployed. This one is in a not shootable position, so that will deter Noit away, and he rotates around. But look at how much time they've already wasted, and I'm not sure how much pressure they're really putting up onto that front side of things. That shield is still in place, and then VT will take down Rudda as well behind that Kiba barrier. There goes Saves with another one of his own, and it's a 2 versus 4 here for VITICAL to try and find the first round. Again, defensive side of Chalet, you don't really expect to win that initial round, but you really don't expect to lose it in this sort of fashion. Saves picking up one and then reaching in with that deagle that you mentioned that does a lot of damage.
Just damage to people.
It really does. And, well, it does enough damage to finish off that round, put ETERNO on the board first. And, well, VITICAL trailing yet again. Hopefully they'll be able to recover from this one a little bit better than before, however.
Yeah, I mean, really good round there from ETERNO. I mean, there's nothing I can put a fault to it. As you saw there, where Wamai was playing, who I believe was on, who NVTZ was on, we could see how those Kiva barriers had been used to set up an eye line where the defense could see out, but the attackers couldn't see in at him, and they'd have to use utility or time or even expose themselves in order to get away and rid of those Kiva barriers. I mean, he was able to hop up on the trophy cabinet and he was able to shoot out over those windows, as well as being able to hold the rappel comfortably because it was a harder angle for them to see in. And looking at the current roster of operators they brought, couldn't think of a better way to say that. Looks like they're going to go quite roam heavy again here. I mean, we're seeing a couple of trap operators here who could be used more for utility rather than the traps. I mean, where we saw him placing one there, it looked like it was almost in the middle of just the hallway there. Which is somewhere that they'll have to shoot out the frostmat, as obviously they can't just walk straight over it. And that will give a sound cue for defenders, knowing when there's people upstairs or when there's an operator nearby, which is an effective way of using someone's utility. So a very utility-heavy roster. A lot of information, a lot of roaming going on here, as we see with the Mozzie and the Oryx. I think they're going to be some big contenders for this round.
I think I definitely agree with you there, especially with Noit already trying to force some engagements here. Oh, wow. And just as I say that, he forces them. Then another one takes the kill there onto Pavlov, but immediately for the trade, there is Rexy to take him down. But still, a lot of damage has been done on the side of VITICAL as, well, Pavlov went down, and that's going to be a lot of trouble as they lose that Nomad, of course, would have been really, really good for, potential flank watch. And, well, with a lot of, with that roam presence, I was going to say, that really could be a problem. But Rexy, beautiful, very far and away angle with that 1.5, finds the kill onto Venom, punishes just a simple peek there and puts VITICAL back into the driver's seat for this round.
Yeah, definitely the driver's seat, and it looks like ETERNO or the passenger princesses. A 4 versus 3 with diffuser in hand. However, they do still have site control and vertical with 90 seconds left in the round, which is very, very important. I mean, we could easily see a rotate here from Nico Meister, who is our favorite MVP on the side of ETERNO, as voted for at last game. I mean, saying that, NVTZ does get picked off by the Glaz with that long angle that's been set up, which is a really very impressive angle.
Yeah, Frag Grenade comes out as well over top of that wall to potentially destroy some of that utility and to maybe even push Nico Meister away from his current position. Of course, as the smokes start rolling in and they have plenty to go around, Nico Meister's not really going to have too much luck of looking down from his up top position. And of course, with the Glaz in play, VITICAL do have the slightest bit of advantage here, but nevertheless, that top 4 position is still so dangerous, and it proves exactly why. As he finds one, he finds the second one from up top. Still not really having to move, and that timer dwindling away now, as is that utility using the final smoke to rush straight into the site. Oh my goodness, he just narrowly avoids getting killed by Seis, but Seis is there for the rotate, finds the kill, and finds one more to boot. A round that looked all VITICAL for that entire round ends up getting won by ETERNO, and all at the back of Nico Meister playing that top 4 position, playing into their utility perfectly. And well, all that I'm thinking about is if that nade had connected that round, no way, Jose, does that go ETERNO's way. I just don't see a way in which Saves is able to pick up all 4 of them there on that wall, but Nico Meister was just too big and too strong upstairs. Round went ETERNO's way, and VITICAL are now looking to, at the very least, win this tertiary bomb site if they want to have a foot in this half.
What a round from ETERNO. I mean, to be going from a, 3 4 versus
4-2.
1 or 2. Yeah, 4-2 to winning it out in a fairly easy kill in a 1 versus 1. That was a really, really impressive display, and I don't know what happened there for VTC. I mean, I do. I mean, Nico was able to get on that rotate and just pick up his kills and completely cause some damage. As I said earlier then, when they still had the vertical control, they really needed that nade to connect. But nonetheless, good round from VTC up until that point where they just didn't clear the roam. But really well done, and hats off to ETERNO for an outstanding job done.
Yeah, definitely. And now going upstairs, doing a pretty interesting setup there in that wall. Of course, there's recently been a lot of controversy about whether or not you should open up that wall, whether you should have any head holes, foot holes, ceiling holes, and it looks like ETERNO just decided to do all 3 of them at the same time and put a Surrogate on it to boot as well, just to make it that much harder for VITICAL to really have an in into the bomb site. Rada, however, already inside of Mudroom, is looking to put a little bit of pressure up here on the library/blue stairs, and Safes could just end up falling the victim, or could end up being the victor of a potential gunfight. Noit taking a lot of damage. I do believe that was Rada in the engagement against him inside of the bar. And, well, Noit runs away. A bit of a swing there, but there's just too many people looking down at him, and Saves, despite the damage taken, finds Rada anyway. First Spick going the way of ETERNO yet again, and putting VITICAL on a back foot for the 3rd round in a row here.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a really good defense last round. Well, last few minutes execution defense. But this round, I think we're going to see a faster execution. Never mind. I mean, we are seeing an execution, but it's just the execution of VTC themselves. Talking about strategy, it's really important to see this Tachanka here. He's really good for denial, and his weapon utility is absolutely outstanding. As I speak of him, he gets his kill. But, I mean, that was an execution, to say the least, Retro.
Yeah.
4 versus 0, basically, at that point. They were wiped out. I haven't quite seen something like that in quite a while. And it just shows the ETERNO skill. I mean, they have a game knowledge, they have the gameplay, and they have the gunplay, and they have the mechanics to match any site they're on and any attack that is coming at them. It's really, really quite impressive. Watching them there, we were just able to see just how good they are. I mean, picking up kills from quick little peaks and just angles it's just nasty. It's just nasty.
Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more. And now coming out with a timeout as well, or VITICAL, to maybe try and slow them down a little bit. I mean, this is effectively now, 6 rounds in a row, 7 rounds in a row for, oh, goodness gracious, it is a 9. Yeah, 9 rounds in a row, and
it's 9 rounds,
counting. Yeah, because it's 3 from the first half of Oregon, 3 from the second half, and now 3 from the first half of Chalet. So that's 9 rounds and counting that ETERNO have kept this momentum going for, and while VITICAL have just not been able to find anything for themselves ever since. Hopefully that timeout, the first one that we see tonight, will be good to get them to regain their composure a little bit, and will be good to let them refresh what they've been doing so far. Because, of course, now with the site rotation being completely unlocked and reset for
Defenders, protect your bombs.
For ETERNO, they can go back to this bar gaming bomb site, which was over so quickly for VITICAL. Once they lost a couple of those players inside of Piano, then they sort of lost all of their players inside of Piano. Hopefully this time they're going to be, a little bit wiser about the way that they play. Hopefully Pavlov is going to be a little bit more aware of how he puts down those air jabs in a way that potentially doesn't get shot out by the player pushing up from underneath. Which also, I do have to give a point to Noit for that one, of just being aware of where that air jab would be, shooting it out and creeping his way upstairs. Of course, they heard the shot, they saw him on drones, they knew he was coming up there, so good on VITICAL, but still, that could have been a lot worse, and hopefully they're going to be a little bit more aware of the potential damage that could be coming out from a team like ETERNO.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely wild that he was able to get away with that. VTC had the information on him, as you said. So it was interesting that they weren't able to find that pick. But if we're looking at the defensive lineup here, again, we're looking at quite an information-based team. We can see beepers being brought as secondary utility on the one mic. We can see a secondary camera being brought on the Jaeger. And a shield, which I personally class as quite a good information device, as people either have to clear it or you can look behind it and use it as a smaller mirror, which you weren't quite able to do so before. So all these cameras, I mean, the Mozzie obviously is a primary utility user, and I think they're bringing a lot of information. I think they're relying on that information to get a lot of their frags. I mean, there's one frag straight away from Nico onto Pavlov. That's a Nomad gone, which I believe is going to be quite powerful, as that leaves rotations pretty much open.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of damage now being done onto the Vitical, even though they lost only one player. And of course, before, whenever they lost the player, it was Rexy, of course, on the Ash, so that didn't really have too much of that. Wow, they didn't have too much of that projectile utility to clear the shield and to clear those Cuba barriers. And now, well, narrowly could have gotten that kill there. I think that was JM, but unfortunately he was looking up at the camera. Wasn't really expecting NVT to swing him that way that he did, or to stand up the way that he did. He missed that perfect opportunity, and now with a lot of utility being displaced up on that shield, I do believe a grenade came out as well, and there goes the shield down. A lot better use of utility this time around, but those magnets are still flying up into the beams of that corridor, and safe, of course, behind two of these Cuba barriers is still safe and sound, as his name suggests. And it forces Vitical into a bit of a different gunfight. Katu at the bottom floor, trying to pick a gunfight here against Noid, and he finds the pick. Rexy very aggressive on the window here. I do believe one of those Cuba barriers might have gotten clear to give them an even bigger opening. NVT will find one. He'll find the second. 2 versus 4 yet again. Make that 3 versus 2. As that's Rexy to find another one for himself. The team of attackers disjointed, but Katu is picking up his own kills as well. Both teammates at this point holding their weight. Wow, okay, there we go. Venom will find Rexy, but Katu finds one as well! And Rexy found the down at the safes just in the nick of time. Vitical put themselves on the board finally after 9 rounds, and in a very, very interesting moment as well that I really did not see coming in that moment. I mean, it was a 2v2. It was a little bit scrappy there, but they managed to pull it out anyway. Katu, very, very good on that push from below. Got one, got the second, got the fourth as well. Or I guess the third, but fourth in the round. And a very, very good, rotate from him to understand that is the pressure that they needed to put onto the defenders. Very good understanding of okay, I am the support player here. I am going into a slightly more disadvantageous position, and I could lose a diffuser here for my team. But it's something that I need to do. I need to pick these gunfights and maybe get those kills. That's exactly what they did. Rexy up top did a very, very good job of cleaning up the players upstairs. And then the round was over pretty much as soon as it had begun as far as the action goes, because it all happened sort of in that 30 to 45 second run. And now with a tactical timeout being used by ETERNO, instead of what I thought would be a technical timeout, considering that they had lost a player to a disconnect. I think maybe they had overlapped them. They did take that technical timeout and then decided to go for the tactical timeout as well. But nevertheless, Summon, Vitical have got around.
Yippee! Well done, Vitical. Good round there. You really got your execute out on time, I think, is what the key was there. I think it was getting your executes off, which is what was most important for them to be able to do. Yeah, really, really good. Really nice round, actually. It was really quite exciting to watch. I could hear you got a bit excited in the end there. I was a bit excited watching it, all feeling very tingly over here. But good round there. ETERNO losing out on the defense. But yeah, VTC able to use really good execute there. They managed to clear the top and then take bottom control with very little resistance, I think, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, there wasn't really not little resistance. It's just the fact that Katu ended up being the better man in that gunfight. I mean, that beautiful swing first onto, I believe it was Noit, and then finding Nico Meister as well, which has so far not been an easy thing at all to do for any of these players. But he found it regardless, and that was really the opening that they needed. It allowed Rexy to then start applying pressure onto, of course, Saves, the Zami that was playing that chimney position, distracted him a little bit, allowed Katu to cross through that fireplace and then to find the kill there onto, I believe that was Venom on the, what's her name, Thorn, there at the end. Yep. Regardless, very, very, very good job there from both of those players to clutch that out. That was definitely a team effort there from VITICAL and from Katu and Rexy to find that round for their team. It stops the momentum that had been going on for 9 rounds from ETERNO, and it definitely puts a little bit of a confidence booster here for VITICAL, who are already so quick on that information gain. You've been talking so much about the information from ETERNO, but it cannot be understated for VITICAL either, who are there with those drones, spotting out that Frost and already minimizing its potential come that late round where Frost is the most dangerous.
Yeah, looking at the lineup they got on the side of ETERNO, we get blessed with another Azami, but we can also see those informational picks coming out again, as I mean, 90% of this roster is information, but a lot of it is also very, very roam heavy, with 3 operators out of the 5 that can actually take a 1.5. Really good setup, and you can see Noit here playing in from below. I mean, but they're being shut out by VTC. A below play is also very powerful, as it allows you for you to play the vertical, which is not something that we see very often. However, we did see it last round, and I don't quite know what's happening to ETERNO here, but maybe this is just not their side.
Yeah, this is really starting to fall apart here for ETERNO, because VITICAL decided to go for a completely different approach. Decided to go up from below. Pablo will find the final 2. And that round, I think that's one of those rounds that could be dissected for days, weeks, months to come about how you can readapt and readjust your attack. I think that bomb site, especially that a bar gaming bomb site, which has so much vertical presence from the defenders, can be, very linear for a lot of teams. They sort of all fall into the same, mindset of like, okay, we need to go the side of Solarium, we need to clear out Trophy and Kitchen and West Main and the basement, and then we can start applying pressure, and we need to clear those shields and those Kiba barriers. All of that wastes so much time. And it also could potentially waste your players as well. It definitely could be giving away those free picks to the defenders, the way that we saw 2 rounds in a row where VITICAL were just losing people left and right, and they weren't able to recover from that. Of course, they were able to recover from it finally in round 4, but they, clearly were not comfortable doing that again. Rexy and Katu said, no clutch, please not again. And they decided to completely reorganize their attack. They decided to go for something completely different. They decided to go from basement up. Of course, they brought the Ying and the Lion, of course, to minimize the visuals that ETERNO had, but also to force them to stay in the positions that they were in, which we saw those drones coming out so very early on. The pings were there, the drones were there, they knew exactly where ETERNO were, and with the Candelas coming out, as well as the EE1, these cans, ETERNO had no chance in that round. A very good example of how to readapt your attack coming up from VITICAL, but also a way to regenerate yourself once you've been trailing those rounds. And now they are looking at a potential either even split here on their attacking half, or even if it ends up being a 4-2 split, that's all you can really ask for on Chalet. They are looking mighty good after that initial loss.
Yeah, really, really good round that. I mean, just complete. I said earlier that VTC got executed, that VITICAL were being executed.
Yeah.
ETERNO were just executed and dumped into the river. That was a really good round there, as you said, complete takeover, really good use of information from the side of the attack. As I say that, more information comes out from Nico Meister even, and he manages to pick up his first pick onto Rotter, who is a very valuable pick to get, as looking at the site that we see now, there's a lot of damageable floors and wallbangable floors above Nico and below the site. A buck would have been very, very damaging on this, completely opening up the floor and completely challenging people from verticals, allowing that plan to go down. But yeah, that would have been very, very powerful.
Yeah, and a lot of pressure being put here onto the remaining attackers. Of course, I do believe that's Rexy trying to avenge Rudda's death and trying to push up those best main stairs, but of course he's unable to do so as Nico Meister and NVT stand there waiting. NVT in the meantime rotated around back to the bomb site, but Venom, regardless of that, finds the kill onto Pavlov. That's the Osana off the board and off the window as well, but Rexy is there. He finds one. At the same time, JM finds his teammate. Ekomeister, still as powerful as ever, finds that refrag, and now JM pushing it to the bomb site will get shut down. It's all down to Katu. He is yet to enter the building. It's, of course, he's playing Ace, so he still has quite a bit of utility left, and that patience pays off as he finds Ekomeister on the rotate. He still has 2 of his drones, so he should be doing pretty well up on that information gain, but of course he's still being contested by multiple of these players, and Noit from inside of West Main denies any clutch potential coming out from Katu. Of course, we saw him clutch out before. He was not able to do it this time. It was too little too late, but nevertheless, VITICAL have picked up 2 rounds for their half, and just as well as they did that on Oregon, and it was a much more dire situation for them, that was because, of course, on Oregon, they started on defense, and you really don't expect to be losing that defensive half. Of course, you know, even on maps where the defense maybe isn't that favored, a lot of the time, it's still easier to win on defense, just because you have the potential of bunkering downside. If you're not good at roaming, if you're not good at these big elaborate setups, you can still just hunker down on site. You can bring a castle, bring some shields, bring a smoke, and just sit. Just sit there and force the attackers to come to you, because of course they have to. They have no other choice. You're so, malleable when you're on defense. There's so many things that you can do, but when you're attacking, the only thing that you really can do, the basis of your push, is to push. You have to attack. You have to come to them. So inherently, that's why the defense will always be that little bit more of an edge in Siege, and it's what puts VITICAL here on the front foot, even if they are still trailing 2 rounds. And as they go to that gaming bar site, it really could start to close up that gap, and it all depends on whether ETERNO is able to do a better job of clearing up this bomb site than some other teams would be able to.
Yeah, I mean, really good split going in here for ETERNO. As you said, they went into this exact same split in a reverse situation in the last map. So if we can see another good display from them, we could see a very quick closeout here. But in the same way, we could see VTC even go completely the other way and bring in their 4-2 split, where they might even be able to do a 5-1 split, which will put them on match point and even win the game out for them. So it's going to be, I think it could be either tight to the wire, or we're going to see a complete domination for the rest of this game, which is obviously one way or the other.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think it's either going to go ETERNO domination, or I think VTC are going to really bring this in. I don't think we're going to see a domination from VTC, just because of what we've seen from them so far today against ETERNO. I mean, straight away there, Nico's picking up a kill on the hatch he's been holding as Rotter swings it. Not to say VTC are bad at all. I think this is very winnable for them, but I don't think they're going to win it with outstanding ease.
Yeah, I'm a little bit upset there for Rudda for peeking that hatch. He really didn't need to. I understand his thinking there, because he's like, okay, well, if I can get that opening pick, it'll be good, but it just did not go that way, and the rest of the round doesn't seem to be going their way either. Rexy finally finds a kill. He finds the second one as well. This closes the round a little bit tighter here. Rexy manages to pull away back to the bomb site, and Pavlov, with all of his smoke babes still in pocket, could be still putting a lot of pressure onto the attackers. Still yet to come from this side. Of course, those Vulcan canisters is still yet to blow as well. They're also going to be quite a bit of a time waster, which, with 50 seconds still to go in the round, could be a bit of an issue for ETERNO. Rexy taking a lot of damage behind the barn. I do believe that's a grenade cooking onto him as well from Noit. Pavlov taking so much damage to one of these Vulcan canisters that I mentioned getting deployed, but he is now on a flank and he really could be doing the damage, but the drone spots him. 30 seconds to go, 2v3. Pavlov makes his way back into the bomb site. The only real pressure is coming from this fireplace side. Pavlov and Rexy both reveal themselves. Nico Meister, all he needs to do is look, and he finds those kills. He finds that round, and the first round of the second half will go ETERNO's way yet again. They are picking up that momentum. This is now the second round in a row that they've won after losing 2 in a row to VITICAL. And, well, I said that, this is a really good position for VITICAL to be in when it was a 4-2 split and they were going onto a defensive-sided site. And I think that it really could have been something special, but having lost, I think that was JM and Rhoda that they lost pretty much immediately, made it so that they really couldn't do much after that. Rexy was there in tow, as was Pavlov, to find those kills afterward, but they just weren't able to hold on to that round at all. And, well, I don't want to harp on the guy too much, but I am still a little tiny bit, I don't want to say mad or pissed off, but a little bit iffed.
Upset.
No, that's too strong. But I am a little bit, that type of whatever emotion that means.
Frustrated.
I'm frustrated. That's exactly the word. I'm a little frustrated with Rhoda for peeking onto the hatch. He really didn't need to. I think it was a bit of, just if I can get this kill, that would have been, of course, Nico Meister. That would have been the Yana. That would have been the opening frag. It would have been all of these things, but you have to think about the consequences of a potential swing as well, and, well, it went the way of ETERNO. And that Claymore, keep that in the back pocket of your minds, people. That could become a problem later on in the round. Nevertheless, though, the round has begun, and they are going for this gaming bar setup yet again. This time, 30 seconds into the round, I was going to say no one dead, but Katu is NVT finding that opener, and, well, the round slipping away yet again from VITICAL. Hopefully they're going to be able to pull it back by the reins and bring it back to themselves.
It looks like Safes is actually trying to hit a run out already inside of office, leaving it already. Really impressive. Here we can see just quite how important this setup is using the Azami. That's a really tight angle for JM to be able to hold. It's going to be really hard for ETERNO to push onto that angle. Not as hard when he's blinded, but that's going to be a hard angle for them to peek nonetheless. There's a multitude of ways he can swing from this. Even just standing on the stairs, he can look through that segment that hasn't quite clipped them. Look how difficult that is for Noit to hold. That's just how powerful an Azami is to bring. The rest of the operators on the lineup are fairly standard, but also very important. A Wamai and a Jaeger is someone we don't typically see together, but I think we have seen quite a lot through this as Noit finds 2 kills.
Swapping bags.
As Noit finds 2 kills, he manages to get refragged out. Rotter below finds his pick onto Safes as he finds a double kill. Very well done there by Rotter as he leaves in a 1 versus 1.
Minute to go, a lot of pre-fires going on, giving away NVT's position. Of course, he does currently not have the diffuser. It has been lost inside a fireplace. Still quite a bit of drone utility left at his disposal. That Claymore, we said it before, still could be causing a little bit of damage as Rudd is creeping right around that drone hole. And NVT through the wall finds him! Oh, that really was so close, but it was just a little bit too much for Rhoda to be able to handle. He really pulled that one off, pulled it all the way back to a 1 versus 1, but it really wasn't going to be going their way. I was unfortunately muted there for a little bit, but I was going to say that, Pavlov taking care of Nico Meister there really, opened the round a little bit there for VITICAL, and with all of those grenades, gone from their disposal, and, they really only had those ash charges to work with, and then the ash died. So I really was starting to think VITICAL have got to have this, because those Kiva barriers aren't unable to go down. But unfortunately, there was just too much pressure all at once going on, and ETERNO put themselves back onto that map point and are looking at a potential 6 points from this single game. I really feel for Vitical at this point because, I mean, we said this, we really expected a tug of war going on between these two teams. I mean, if you're ever going to see, a full overtime twice going on, it's going to be teams like ETERNO and Vitical, but unfortunately, Vitical are just not having a good day, and ETERNO are just that little bit too strong to the point where the round is just slipping away minute by minute for Vitical.
I mean, it's just falling further and further away from from Vitical here. I mean, it's just out of grasp, really, at this point, which is an unfortunate thing to have to say. They are completely being beaten here by ETERNO. I mean, this is match point. We've seen nothing but impressive plays here from ETERNO, really good use of cameras and calls and information using each other. But it's just, I mean, even now, there's the first pick onto Rotter. That is a lot of utility gone. I mean, that's a Vector with a 1.5, which isn't great for long-range engagements, but it's still good for engagements. But that also takes a Nitro with it. As I say that, we find a refrag from Pavlov onto Nico, who is one of the top fraggers of their team, or the top fragger of their team. But unlike the game before, we can see a far more built spread out as you can look onto the side. Now, looking at the lineup, we see a particularly slowing lineup here with the Smoke, the Goyo, and the Azami. That's all of those can be used to slow down pushes and slow down how people are attacking different sites. You're not going to be able to just run straight at something if you see a keeper barrier in the way. Not only that, the Smoke is going to be able to hold off certain doorways for 10 seconds at a time, which means 30 seconds left, he's able to hold off a whole doorway with all 3 of his toxic canisters.
Yeah, a bit of an engagement there.
Goyo, even more important as he can burn out, and I'm going to hand it over to you, Retro. As you said, engagement's starting to come out.
Sorry, I mean, nothing really came of it. It was an engagement there between JM and Noit. JM came off worse for wear up that one, and now the pressure is starting to come onto this bomb site and onto the wall, actually, of dining room to get it opened up and to get that plant potentially going down. That Goya canister being blown open in the hallway denies the attackers from swinging onto the doorway, but just as well it denies the defenders from really taking up shop there, which some do like to do. Pavlov getting very close and personal up onto this wall. I don't think he's even aware how close he is to getting their kills, but JM will go down upstairs. Noit, I don't think he's aware of the fact that he got the down. Venom will find Pavlov as well, and now with the hatch control, it might be too little too late for Vitical, and it will be just that. The plant going down just as NVT finds his way up those west main stairs to find the final kill. ETERNO take the round, and there you go for the final round for the final game of this. You can see, what is it called? Finca Elite MVP thingy going on. I didn't know that you even had one lately. I'm gonna be honest with you, but nevertheless, the round as well as the map goes to ETERNO yet again. That is a 7-2 for them, right? Wow, well that's gonna buff up their round difference a little bit, huh? Sheesh.
Yeah, I mean, wow, that's going to really, I mean, definitely, I mean, if I look at the tables now, I might be able to get a rough idea of where they come from, should my actual PC load. Thank you, Opera GX. But yeah, so that secures them even more happily in the position where they are. I mean, that's a very secured second place if that's where they remain, depending on how the Arctic Wolves match goes. That's a very secure second place, if not first, as it is a bit of a tug of war going on between those two sides. 2 regulation wins, really, really impressive. I mean, both with the exact same score. Just wow. That's all I've got to say so far. Wow.
Yeah, that very, very insane. The situation's going on now inside of the Champions League, and I think that that's very telling of what's to come all the way back in round 7, which of course will be our final round. It will play out next week, and then everybody prepared to clap a lot when we get to the best of 3s in the grand finals, or not the grand finals, but rather the playoffs, which will be a whole other situation. Of course, we'll be joined by a couple teams from the Premier League as well. And if there's anything that we know about those teams, especially the ones that find themselves currently in contention for, promotion into the playoffs, they are nothing if not hungry. We've got teams like 5 Stars and REH Gaming potentially joining us. They currently find themselves at the top of those leaderboards, but it all depends on how the next couple of rounds play out. But that very, very well could be 5 Stars joining us. And if you remember 5 Stars throughout the qualifiers, you'll know that they are a very, very hungry team, a very, very settled-in team. And I really cannot wait to see potentially them play against some of these Champions League teams. I mean, them putting up against ETERNO is definitely going to be a show match like you've never seen before. But before we go into all of that, let's close out this game and say who the MVP of that one was. Now, controversially, I don't know if I want to give it to Nico Meister this time. Definitely he was there for a lot of those opening frags. Yet again, that's what his role is designed for. That's what he is there to do. But I think that as far as utility goes, and as far as, being very aware of your position and of your potential in the game, I think that one would be Safes. It might be controversial, but it's what my heart's telling me. I think that Safes was very, very good in the role that he was playing. And I think that sometimes, maybe he didn't, have the most flashiest skills, but I think sometimes you have to support the support player a little bit and recognize their contributions to the team as well.
Definitely, supporting the support player, I think, is one of the most important things in Siege, as it's becoming a very frag-heavy scene, which is not good for teams who are going to need those support players. I think,
Just every team.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that Safes is a very good person to put our MVP with, but the likes can be said for Venom as well, or NVTZ, who we saw in a couple of times clutch up a couple of rounds and win out for his team whilst playing on that very important support role. But yeah. I think I'm very happy to give Safes that MVP. Okay,
nice. I'm glad that we agree on that one. But yeah, that one, it was a very, very interesting game. I really enjoyed that. And although they didn't win too many rounds, I still do have to give a little bit of praise to VITICAL. Of course, I said this all the way back when they actually achieved it, all the way back in round, 4 or 5, where they went for a completely different approach to their attack of Gaming Bar. Of course, in the first round, it was a complete shutdown. Then in round 4, it came down to a clutch between Rexy and Katu, who managed to pull it off. And then in round 5, they decided to completely switch it up. It was right after their timeout as well that they were able to pick up those rounds, and it really, really paid off. Of course, it didn't pay off in the long term as they still lost the game, but I think that is still something that is such an important pillar of any team, is having that readaptation sort of trait in your team is definitely very, very good, and it shows, the skill and the experience of a good team when you can see them readapt and completely reorganize themselves for games like that and for rounds like that.
Yeah, really good job. I second everything you've said. Really important. I mean, games like that are just I'm lost for words, Retro.
Okay, nice.
I'm lost for words. I mean, I'm just completely blown away by looking back at what I've done. I'm going over my notes and I'm looking back at the tactics and what we've looked at from each team. And ETERNO just managed to consistently show a really good understanding of the game and of their tactics, and were able to adapt to VTC's plays almost flawlessly every time. I mean, there was the 4 rounds, which sounds really, really not very many. There were 4 rounds where VTC were able to get the top over ETERNO. One of those rounds, I believe, was pretty much a blowout, complete blowout. The other 3 were sort of here nor there, but very close rounds. It was very interesting game to watch. And from a strategic standpoint, it was also quite interesting to watch, as we saw lots of tactics that we don't really see. I mean, all competitive teams have their own set of not ranked tactics, have their own set of tactics. but a lot of them can be sort of traced back to default ranked strats. I mean, that is just how a lot of teams play and then adapt on, because that's what a lot of people know. Teams like ETERNO and VTC, we saw completely different things from. Opening up hatches that would typically be reinforced, holding angles that typically would not be held, and in most cases, it paid off.
Yeah, I agree completely. That was, yeah, I completely agree. And I think that really goes to show just how big some of these teams in the Champions League are, how big they can be, and it really does set them apart from the teams that we saw maybe in qualifiers that didn't really make it all that far, and teams in other leagues as well who are just making their way through with those default strats because maybe they have a really good entry fragger that is just sort of on a kill spree and gets everybody dead very quickly. But when you see teams like this that you say that bring something completely new to the table and that completely rewrite the game, that is something that I really, really love seeing. And it really sets these teams apart. And I think that that's what makes me so excited to see finally the playoffs, because the more that the season goes on, the more these strategies get fleshed out. And then once it hits the playoffs, then you get a great team against an even better team, against an even better team, and against an even better team. And they're all bringing their absolute A game and battling in best of threes for the entire time until the grand finals, which is a best of 5, which I really, last season we were robbed of it a little bit because unfortunately they couldn't agree on a time, and then it just ended up going the way of Arctic Wolves. So we didn't actually get to see that final best of 5, but I hope that this season we do get to see, and I think whichever teams we end up seeing, I really wouldn't put it past them to go all the way down to map 5, or at the very least a map 4, where it really could go anybody's way. And I really am excited to see a lot of these strategies really come to life and really take form as something special.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this best of 5, that's going to be order a kebab, get 4 drinks and sit and cast that game. That's going to be a long game, and they're going to be OT on almost every map, knowing whichever team's able to get into that final, because they're going to be the cream of the crop of Revival League's qualifiers. I mean, these are going to be the best of the best that we've seen so far, and I think we're going to see some really, really outlandish plays and strategies for that.
I definitely agree. But anyway, we've been rambling for quite a bit here now. It's just, the season end is nearing, so we're very excited to see what more is to come. And of course, those playoffs could not get here any sooner. Could you tell that I'm excited? But in any case, we've been rambling for quite a bit. Our MVPs for the night will be Nico Meister and Safes. That was essentially a 14-4 closeout from ETERNO. They remain the kings of the Champions League for the moment. And, that will close out the night. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure to stay subscribed to this channel and to follow our socials so that you know when we next go live. And especially keep up with those socials, as we're going to be posting a lot of things come playoffs. So definitely stay tuned for all of that. But in any case, I've been Retro. He has been Summon the Nerds. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a good night.